Hey guys, how is it going? Welcome back to our new episode of She Sounds Unfiltered.
Hosted by Sharp Edges Records.
Let's go. So today we wanted to talk about this topic that I feel like a lot of people feel this way, but we don't really talk much about it.
Yeah, I think that it's a good thing for us to touch on just because I feel like a lot of people are feeling this way right now.
Yes.
Where they're so busy and they're struggling a little bit with the balance
Yes.
of work and other things. So the topic today is work-life balance.
Woo!
Yes.
Yeah, it definitely can be overwhelming sometimes when it comes to work. And we both do music. If you're new here, we're both musicians. Katie's a business owner. She owns this amazing studio. And it's beautiful, right? But it comes with a lot of effort. It comes with a lot of consistency. And sometimes that can be very overwhelming, especially in the music industry. I think it's kind of weird to have even days off. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Not because we have to be working all the time, but because it's like we're so passionate about this that it's hard to just be like, oh, I'm not gonna write a song today, or I'm not gonna have a session today. You just always want to keep doing that just because of our passions, right?
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, this is ARIA. She is an engineer,
Oh, yeah.
singer, songwriter, producer,
Yes.
extraordinaire.
Thank
Just to give you
you.
the little
Thank
intro
you.
as well. But yeah, I mean, the work-life balance is tough sometimes because we are so passionate about what we do. And I feel like
Yeah.
that really fuels us.
Yes.
But we are humans at the end of the day, and we are going to hit our limitations.
Yes,
at
rock
some
bottom in a way.
point. Yeah. And burnout
Yes.
is super real.
Yes, I agree.
Especially like in the music industry and, even outside of the music industry, but also just the hustle culture
Yes.
that tells us that, our worth is dependent upon how much we work and how much we get
Oh
done.
my gosh. How many followers do you have? How many songs do you have out? How many streams do you have?
How much content are you
Yes,
posting? How many
yeah.
reels are you posting?
Yeah.
How many likes are you getting? I mean, it's just a lot, and it can be
Yeah.
really overwhelming. And I
Yeah.
think we're also constantly being exposed to people and just through social media that
Yeah.
it can definitely be overwhelming.
It is. And it's also, I feel like there's nothing wrong with social media out there. Like, it's great, especially when people use it for good, right?
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that shouldn't define you. The amount of followers that you have don't define you. The all these things don't matter at the end of the day. What matters is that you're doing what you love, right? And whatever it is that is your passion at the end of the day, do it, but in a way that it's not gonna affect your mental health, which is so important, right? Mental health and how we handle our lives in a way that we can be doing what we want to do, and when it comes to our jobs or whatever, but at the same time we can be healthy mentally, physically.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And everybody has, different limitations and things that will overwhelm them differently. And actually, my business consultant, Will Kiker, who is just an incredible person in the music industry, he's also a manager, and he has just helped me so much. And he was on a panel recently, and he talked about social media. And one of the things he said is that it is okay to define for yourself what that looks like.
Yes.
And what is good and healthy for you. If
Yeah.
something is starting to affect your mental health, it's not worth it.
Then you have to stop.
Yeah. And so just finding that balance of, hey, I'm going to put myself out there. I'm going to show people what I do to, help gain more fans if you're an artist, or more customers or clients if you're a studio owner like me. Just finding the way that is right for you, because it's not going to be the same for everyone.
I agree. We're all different, and I think it's about embracing our differences. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much out there, and we just gotta be able to look at it. Because sometimes I think it also doesn't help seeing all these influencers, all these artists, all these actors, or people in general out there living their best life, right? When in reality, you don't know what they're going through. So
Absolutely.
it's always good to tell yourself it's okay to not be okay sometimes. We all have those days. It's a matter of how we deal with those, right? It's a matter of like, are you getting out of your bed and doing something about it? Or are you just gonna fall into that, dark hole and just that's it. I think for me at least, because we were talking about how we can also cope with burnout, right? How do you, is that how you would say it, how
Yeah,
you cope?
absolutely.
Yeah. So basically for me at least is, it helps me a lot to, of course, first of all, get out of bed and start my day, working out, start my day. I'm a little nerdy. I love reading. So basically just doing something that is more about self-care. Like starting my day with self-care, and then after a certain period of time, like let's say around 10, 11, or sometimes noon, I start my work day when it comes to recording sessions, when it comes to engineering or producing or writing, whatever it is. But at that point I know already I'm in a good mindset and I'm ready to start with that because I took care of myself first, you know?
Absolutely. No, I absolutely love that. And I think a big topic that we're all talking about right now are boundaries and
Yeah.
personal boundaries with ourselves and with other people. But I think that we're not always touching on work boundaries.
Yes.
And hey, whatever those boundaries look like for you are right. But maybe
Yeah.
starting with, okay, I am not going to start working until this time, and I want to end work at this time.
Yeah.
And just having these boundaries around it so
Mm-hmm.
that not everything just like suddenly blurs together, and then all you're doing is working, and you don't know
Yeah.
where your work life and your personal life
Yeah,
ends
that's
and
hard.
begins.
Yeah, I agree. Having those boundaries. I mean, some people like us, we have the privilege to be able to choose that, right? But for the ones who are not able to do that and, have either a 9 to 5 or they just have a certain schedule, that's okay too. It's just a matter of like, how are you keeping up with it? Like, it's not just a matter of waking up and going to work and that's it. Maybe you might be doing something you like, maybe you're not. But at the end of the day, what matters is also how you take care of your mental health. Are you doing things that you actually enjoy besides your job, right? Are you doing things that will help you not feel that burden from your work? Because we can do things, even if when we do things that we love, like music, I do get to like even last night. It was such a great day, productive, very productive. But it was like 2 a.m. already, and I was like,
Yeah.
I was still writing. I was working first for some commercial stuff, like commercials, like advertisement music. Then after that, I had. Well, I went to work out, and then after that, I had another session to write for a new Christmas EP that's coming out, also for TV. And then after that, I had to work on worship for my church. So I was just kind of like, yeah, I love it all, but at the same time, it was so much, and it was like 2:30 a.m. and I was just like, my brain was just like done. Like I could feel like I couldn't even think straight anymore, So I was like,
Yeah.
this is it. I need to go to bed. Sometimes I do like to push myself a little, but that's, like you were saying, to each their own. Like we are all different. But what matters at the end of the day is like what I do at least is when I push myself, I try to reward myself.
I love that.
So like let's say yesterday I did that. So today I let myself sleep for a little longer. During the morning I didn't wake up when I would usually wake up. I woke up a little later. I still got a workout, like I still got to work out and everything. But I didn't, it's kind of like, okay, you did this, so now I'm gonna reward you with that. And I feel like that's the way that I like to keep myself motivated with myself and my work, just trying to um find that little reward at the end of it and be able to just stay, motivated, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're absolutely right about the privileged element with working. Sometimes you're in a job that you're not going to be able to have control necessarily of those hours. And I think it's, what are the boundaries that I can set? What do I have control over? And
Yeah.
how can I help myself to thrive in those environments?
Yes.
And also with something that we're really passionate about, you can get lost in the shuffle of like all of the different projects going on and all the things that are asking for your attention.
Yeah.
And, I think that you can be thoughtful about it and intentional about it of, what, for this project,
Mm-hmm.
it's important to me. I really want to do it. I'm going to work later tonight. And then kind of
Yes.
exactly what you did, saying, you know what, I got these things done. I worked really late.
Yeah.
Today, I'm going to allow myself a little bit of extra rest.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
Rather than feeling this constant pressure to be doing something. Because I
Yeah.
think that social media also portrays people as working every single second 24/7.
Yeah.
But that is not necessarily the case.
No.
And rest is just as important as work.
I
Because if you
agree.
don't rest,
I
then
agree.
you're not giving 100%
Yes.
to your work.
Yeah.
And
I
so, you know, that balance is essential in being able to continue putting your best foot forward,
Yeah.
giving the best that you can, and not burning out.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh, when I first started engineering, I was like around 17, 18. Guys, I remember I used to like go to the studio every single day and I loved it, right? Thankfully, I was getting booked all the time. It was different. It was a different schedule. I was just starting. So I would literally have, so in the music industry, we usually have sessions. It could be X amount of hours, but usually it's like 4 to 6 to 8 to 12 hours, right? Usually.
Yep.
And I remember I would take 8 hour sessions back to back. So sometimes I would be in the studio 16 hours straight. And I was just like, in my mind, I was just like, I need to make a name. I need to work with different people. I need to make a name out there. Because in this industry, that's the way it works, right? You need to network and everything. I'm not saying it was okay that I did it. I did get a lot of networking and just different contacts out of it, and amazing artists that I got to work with. It was great. But that was a moment that my mental health was at its worst. I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't sleeping properly. I was just thinking like about work, and I have to make this happen for myself. And I feel like I got to that breaking point. I hit rock bottom, and I was like, no, when it comes to like finances, I was doing great. I was thriving, which is amazing. I was like, yes.
Yeah.
But when it comes to my mental health, I was so exhausted. I would even get home, and when you're so tired that you even get in bed but you're not able to sleep just because you're still in like grind mode.
You're just wired.
Yes. So that's where I was at. I had to stop coffee because now I drink it again, but I had to stop it for a while. I had to quit coffee because of the anxiety I would get out of it.
Wow.
Because I was drinking it so much, and that was the only thing my body was taking besides some
Yeah.
kind of like sandwich that I would eat here and there. And that's how I learned the importance of balancing life and work. No matter how much I love my job, no matter all the amazing artists that I got to work with, I also had to take care of me, and not just in a money way. Money wise, financially, it was fine, but it was more about like, Aria, you need to rest. You need to do something else than music, because sometimes I would even want to write, and then I would be like, I got nothing. I'm so uninspired because I'm working so much that I'm like a robot, and that's just not okay, especially with music. We have to be so in touch with our emotions, and of course, not everything is perfect all the time, but it's always good to keep yourself in check and make sure that if you're going through something, you work through it, because then everything starts piling up. And that's when we hit rock bottom. That's what happened to me. So I wouldn't want you guys to go through that. But if you do, it's definitely good to look at that and learn from it.
Wow. Yeah, that, you sharing your story, it kind of brought me back to a similar time in my career when I had left college. I moved to New York, and I was pursuing a songwriting career.
Wow.
And
were you studying there, or like how, like you went to New York to study songwriting, or you were like, oh, I'm just gonna go write?
Oh, so I went to school in Boston, and then I moved to New York after Boston.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And
I love that.
Yeah, so I was an East Coast girly for a while. And so I moved to New York, moved in with a couple of roommates, and I had a side job. I was at Starbucks at the time.
Wow.
And so, I was just so excited to be like working on songwriting for the first time outside of school. It was just a really exciting time. But like I just wasn't able to financially support myself just through music at that time. It could be
definitely
really hard.
It's definitely hard.
Yeah. So, shout out to everyone trying to do the side jobs while also pursuing their passions. It is not easy, but it is like so worth it.
Worth it.
Yeah. But when I was in New York, like I said, I was working at Starbucks. I had the opening shift. I was waking up at 4 a.m.
Oh my gosh. And
and
like, I don't know if it happens to you, but
Yeah.
like musicians, usually we're not morning people.
no,
I'm
at that
not.
time,
I'm definitely not.
I was not. I am somehow slowly transforming to becoming more of a morning person.
How do you do that? This is a point aside. I'm like, how do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. I slowly started having more things happening in the morning. Like,
Yeah.
the more that I'm on the business side,
That
I have
is
more
true.
more
Yes.
meetings and, people that are asking for things earlier.
Yeah.
And so I've just kind of like naturally
I need to get myself to wake
shifted.
up earlier.
But it's hard when you have so many night things
Yeah.
happening. Like, it's like, how?
Yeah. But anyways, you were working at Starbucks.
Yeah, working
4
at
a.m.
Starbucks, waking up at, oh no, I was actually waking up at 3:30. I totally forgot. Waking up at 3:30.
That's when I go to sleep.
Yeah, and taking the train. I lived in Astoria at the time. Taking
Yeah.
the train into Manhattan to be there for the opening and like to open Starbucks.
Oh my
I would
gosh.
do my full shift, and then after my shift, I would leave and I would go into my sessions that would start in the afternoon. That would go till
Wow.
like midnight, 1
And
a.m.
then you have a couple hours, if anything, to sleep.
And then I would do it all over again.
Wow.
And that hustle did not last long before I completely
Yeah.
just burned out. And actually, and this is why I think it's such an
Yeah.
important topic, because I actually passed out in
Oh my
Starbucks, and they called the
gosh.
ambulance, and I had to go to the hospital,
Oh
and they
no.
like pumped me with fluids, and I was talking to the doctor, and they basically said to me, whatever you're doing, you need to stop doing. And
Wow.
you need to take
Take
better
care
care
of
of yourself. And
Wow.
it was just a wake up call, because I was
Yeah.
just doing what I could, to
Yeah.
be able to pay rent in New York and
Yes.
also be able to pursue.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
It's hard when we hit rock bottom, of course, but I think it's beautiful when we think about why we did it, right? It's of course it's not nice what the outcome of it, but the fact that we were so passionate to pursue our careers, because I did it because I literally needed, it's the same. I needed money to pay my rent. I needed to support myself, right? My mom and my dad, it was different back then, they wouldn't really be able to help me financially, and I was a teenager just trying to make it in music.
Yeah.
So it was a push, it was definitely a push that helped me stay focused, stay motivated. But it's definitely hard when you hit that rock bottom and you're like, man. But at the same time, I feel like it did teach us something, and I think that's something important we can take out of that, right? The fact that we're like, it just shows where our heart is at, and that's in music, and that's our passion. And I think that's so beautiful. Even though whatever we went through, at the end of the day, we're here.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
we are, so we can call it blessed, lucky, and grateful, because now you're a business owner, you're doing
Yeah.
all the things, and I've been doing other things like in the music industry, and all that brought us here. But we definitely had to take that lesson.
Yes. And, there's definitely a grit
Yeah.
that is required to do what we do. And also, I'd just like to touch on, it's okay sometimes to experience discomfort. What, I've been working all day, I'm tired, or I'm, these things that we learn to push past.
Yes.
And so I think it's great that we have such determination, and we work really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing that's important to touch on here with the work-life balance is knowing the difference between discomfort and something that is directly harming you.
Yes, that is so important.
If you have a couple of nights where you don't sleep as much, that's okay. But if it's something that is ongoing, you're not getting enough
Yeah.
sleep, you're not taking care of yourself, you're not exercising, you're not eating
Yeah.
well, that is going to eventually cause harm to you and
yeah.
burnout, and it is going to inevitably affect your mental health.
I agree.
And all of these things start to build up. And
Yeah.
so it's okay to experience some discomfort, as long as you aren't consistently starting to actually harm yourself to the point of burnout and
to the point of
losing
fainting
your
at Starbucks, basically.
yeah, to the point of passing out at Starbucks. That is a pretty strong indicator that what you're doing is not
Wow.
healthy. And so I don't recommend that to anybody. But yeah, I think that we are really hard workers, and I think that that's important. But I think that there is a lot of pressure with the hustle culture to be working all of the time. And that is not everything. And you can actually work hard intentionally and thoughtfully, and hey, I'm going to prioritize these things because these are the top things that are important. And also, especially with what we do, the to-do list never ends. It literally never ends. And so being able to be like, okay, I do have these things that I have to tackle, but I can do it tomorrow. Obviously, certain things are time sensitive. So that's where the priority list comes into play. You're going to have certain deadlines. You're going to have certain things that you just have to do at a certain time, whether it's because you are, you know, working on a salary or hourly, or you have clients that are saying, hey, I need it by this by this date. There's no getting around that. But what are the things that you can say, hey, here are the priorities. Here are the things that when I get to them, I get to them. And that's okay, because the to-do list just never ends. And especially as a business owner, I'm wearing so many hats all the time.
So when it comes to, like you're saying, priorities, I do think it's so important to, what I usually try to do is, you know, have a goal. If I know that my goal is this one, like let's say in a year, in 2 years, in 5 years, what do I have to do now? What can I do now to get there? What are the steps that I can take today, tomorrow, and next week? Not looking at it in a way of anxiety, right? Or like, because sometimes they say, right, like if you only think about the future, you only get anxiety. But that's the point of the plan, right? Being able to be like, okay, today I can do this, so tomorrow I can keep going with that, and then I can get there. So that's how I always try to see it. What can I do today that is gonna bring me closer to my goal tomorrow?
Absolutely.
You know, and that's like you're saying with priorities and everything, that's so important, knowing like, what do I need to do now that is very, like, that is more important? What projects, what things do I need to get done now? You know, so this client keeps calling, so this gig keeps going, or whatever it is, right? Because that's very important, especially because we work, I'm sure you do too, like based on gigs, right? Like we get projects, we get sessions, we get whatever it is. At the end of the day, what matters is that we get the artist vision out there, or even our visions as artists, right? But and then another thing that I remember somebody who is like, we've known each other for years now, and it's one of those people that you're not like you're like somehow close with, even though you don't talk a lot, but you just feel that connection with. And I always looked up to him when I was younger too, since I was younger. And he said something, like this person just said something that got me thinking, and he said, it's not about having balance in life, it's about creating that harmony within. So can you create harmony within these aspects in your life? How can you take these things and let them grow in harmony? Instead of balancing one thing and the other, why don't we create harmony within those things, so it just creates this beautiful chord, this beautiful melody, right? And when he said that, I was like, wow, that makes sense. Because before I was thinking, we say balance and it makes sense, but then what about harmony? Because harmony happens when you mix these notes and then you end up finding this beautiful chord, right? So why not seeing every aspect as one note, and getting them to sound in a way that is gonna just make a difference in your life?
That is so beautifully poetic. I absolutely love that.
Hey, we're artists here, so sometimes it just comes out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that is such a beautiful way to put it. And also, there is a creative element to, you know, the things that we decide to do in our life and what we put together, and how that can create exactly what you said, like its own harmony. And that's really, really beautiful. And, you know, I just love the idea that with what we do, we get to decide in a lot of ways, which I know is a privilege, but we get to kind of decide, okay, what are the things that we want to put our time into? And, you know, how will that all come together?
Yeah. And about that, yes, we're so privileged, but I remember when my mom had to leave LA when I was 15, 16, she said something to me, because I was going to stay here alone, right? So she said, freedom doesn't mean do whatever you want. Freedom means knowing what you do and taking responsibility of your actions. So that stayed stuck in my mind, and since then everything that I do, every, like we were saying, we try to think about it in a way that we gotta be responsible, especially because we're our own boss, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So being our own boss is amazing, but it also comes with a price, and that price is being able to organize yourself better, being able to just, we cannot be lazy. That's the thing. We can, you know how sometimes people are like, nah, I have work, but like, I'm just gonna do this stuff tomorrow. My boss is gonna be like, whatever, I'll just talk to my boss about it. We don't have that, right? We have to be
Yeah.
responsible enough. It comes with responsibility, because if we don't do it, who's gonna do it for us? We don't have a boss giving us that paycheck every 15 days.
Yeah.
We have to get it for
And
ourselves.
whatever you put in, you're going to get out of it.
Yes.
I mean, there is a direct correlation
Yeah.
with that. And, one of the other things I thought about when it comes to work-life balance is also not every single thing or opportunity or session is going to necessarily be something that you should do.
Yeah.
I think that there's because then you can, I think that there's a difference between working hard and intentionally and just being busy for the sake of being busy.
I agree.
Because you can say, oh, I'm going to take all of these sessions and do hours and hours and hours of work. But where is the intention behind it?
Where is that taking you?
Yeah, like, hey, is there a project associated with it? Or, hey, with this person that I'm working with, do you see a business relationship growing from that? And so, it can be tough sometimes because you want to say yes to everything.
You gotta make the calls.
But you gotta make the calls because you don't, they're 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, and then you have to rest and you have to give time to yourself. And so not everything, deserves every bit of your time and energy.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So being like, you know what, I would love to hop on this session or project, but right now I just can't. I don't have the time for it because these are the things that I need to prioritize right now, because one completely finalized project that you're incredibly proud of is so much more valuable than 100 unfinished projects.
I agree. 100%.
And so, being able to see them all
quantity.
through. Quality over quantity, absolutely. Because if you don't have anything to show for it and you have all these sessions and all these unfinished songs,
Then what?
Then what do you really have? So being able to also say, okay, for this song, I'm going to need this much time to finish it. I'm not going to take other things onto my plate during this time.
That's why sometimes I like, depends on, sometimes I'm more inspired to mix, sometimes I'm more inspired to record, sometimes I'm more inspired to write, to sing, whatever it is. But there are certain days, or let's say, I say this week, I'm going to mix. And I have to mix a whole EP, right? So I go like, okay, this week I'm going to mix, period. And I make it about that. And then, the next week I'm like, okay, now I got to write a new project. So I'm going to write all the songs for this project. So then it's like, I try to give myself that, like, okay, I'm going to, like, basically distribute your thing. You know what I mean? What are you supposed to do this week? What are you supposed to do next week? How can you get closer to that project, like finalizing a project? How can you get closer to getting to those goals, right? Because at the end of the day, like you said, it's not a matter of it's not a matter of quantity, it's a matter of quality. So yeah, that's why I always try to, like, okay, when I put my mind somewhere, it's like, let's finalize this, let's make this happen, and then let's make the next thing happen. Because when we focus on so many things at once, it's like, where do you even look at, like, it's hard, to stay focused, to stay in, like, what's the purpose, what's the goal in this project. I always try to think, like you said, when you work with intention of finalizing something or of getting that project somewhere. And yeah, I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, and I think another part of that is, time management for sure with all of that. If you take on a project, really be thoughtful about, okay, how much time is it going to take, and what time do I need to set aside to finish this project?
Yes.
I also think that, a skill that I've developed over time, which was something that was not easy for me, is being able to break down a bigger project or goal into small steps. And, because those things can seem really overwhelming when you look at the whole picture
Oh,
and
yeah.
everything that you have to accomplish, that sometimes it can create,
It's overwhelming.
yeah, it's overwhelming, and it can create almost like decision paralysis, or you can shut down from it because
Yeah.
the idea of having to start tackling
With
that
so much.
is
Yeah.
so much. And so learning how to honestly push through that anxiety of, oh, I
Yeah.
have this huge thing that I have to do, and say, okay, but really the big things are just a lot of small steps.
Yeah. It's
And
like, how do you start?
yeah, how do
Yeah.
you start? Exactly what you said. And like what you can do today that's going to help you tomorrow. And okay,
Mm-hmm.
what is the very first step? The tiniest little step? Is it okay, for a new podcast that I'm starting, okay, let me start the Instagram for it. Let me, like, what are the little things that you can do with whatever goal that you have?
Yeah.
Just break it down into steps. And
Yeah.
one little thing every single day will inevitably lead you
Yeah.
to finishing that big project or
Yes.
hitting that big goal.
I agree.
And it's not as scary as it actually looks
No.
when you break it down.
I agree. It's kind of like working out, right? When you go work out and then you focus one day on upper body, or let's say legs one day, or whatever it is, you don't think about like, oh, I'm doing this because I'm gonna be huge tomorrow or whatever. Like, it's more about like, today I'm focusing on this part of my body, and then tomorrow I'm focusing on that. And then at the end of the day, when you see the full picture, it's like, oh, I look a little bit more fit. I look more like what I want to look like.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's such a beautiful process, because it's not just about, I really think that it's not just about the end goal. It's about the process. How do you get there, and how beautiful it is to, go through every step. And, I always believe that also every no rejection means redirection.
Yes.
So that's also part
Say it
of
louder.
the plan. Yeah, I really believe that helps so much too with the plan, right? It's like, whenever there's a no here, there's a yes there, and that means that that's the door that you gotta take.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I always say rejection is just redirection, and at the end of the day, I think it's better to see it that way than like look at that no and be like, oh man, that was my only chance. No, it's not. Like, whatever you believe on, God, life, whatever it is, there's a plan for you. You know what I mean? And as long as you believe in that, and you believe in yourself enough to be like, I can do it. If God, if life gave me this talents, or the universe, whatever you want to believe on, if I got these talents, it's for a reason. So now I gotta believe in myself, in my talents, and believe that if that door said no, the next one might be a yes.
Absolutely. I love the redirection part of that so much. And another thing I wanted to touch on too when you were talking about that is consistency.
Yes. Oh my
Because
gosh.
consistency is so much more important than like, I'm going to just throw everything out there and like run myself into the ground
Yeah.
for a week, 2 weeks, and then you inevitably can't keep up with it.
No.
So setting goals, setting daily goals that you can truly be consistent with and
Yeah.
achieve every single day is, I believe, a better way to achieve that goal, that big long-term goal,
Yeah.
than just like, oh, I'm going to take on this, I'm going to work out 3 hours a day every single day to get the body I want in a month.
Yeah.
That you're going to burn out. Like,
Yeah.
that's not
And then you're
a
actually
feasible
damaging
way.
yourself. Like, even then, you're damaging yourself physically. So that even reflects into how you would damage yourself physically or mentally if you do that with work. You
Yeah.
know? And yeah, that's a very good example.
So, and I think that that's something that you can determine individually what works with you. What is something that you can realistically, consistently do every single day?
Yeah.
Even if that just means if you're somebody that wants to go to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
all I'm going to do is show up.
Yeah.
That is the one
Yeah.
thing that I'm going to do every single day. And whatever I do is enough.
Yeah.
Even just that means you're going to be going every single day.
Yeah.
And you will inevitably achieve what you want to achieve.
And that reminds me also, like, be kind to yourself. It's always about also being kind to yourself. That doesn't mean letting yourself fall back. That means today I can do this much, and I understand my body and I understand myself, to be kind enough to myself and let myself rest and be able to start again tomorrow. Always be kind with yourself, because otherwise that's when we hit rock bottom. That's when we burn out. And yeah, like it's a matter of consistency, but at the same time understanding when is enough for that day, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree on just being kind to yourself and saying, you know what, today I need to rest. Or,
Yeah.
like, if you're just experiencing burnout or you're having a hard time, being able to tell yourself, you know what, I'm not going to get done everything that I wanted to get done today. And that's okay because I'm putting my self care first.
Yes.
And I also think that also is connected to being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
And something that I actually do every morning now is I either write them down or I read out my words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just make sure that I tell myself really positive things
Yeah.
and I love myself and, like, I'm kind, I'm
Yeah.
intelligent, I
Yeah.
am worthy of love. I have a voice that matters and what I
Yes.
do matters and what I say matters. And I can do great things and
Yeah.
I can be a leader and I can help create change,
Yeah.
positive change in the industry. And these are all things that I am capable of.
Yeah.
And so starting the day with having these words of affirmation and just like giving love to myself
Yeah.
sets me up for more success throughout the day. And it allows me to give myself permission to rest or forgive
Yes.
myself if, I didn't get done everything I got done today. Some things happened that were out of my control.
Yeah.
Or not every day is going to be a perfect day.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to have things that just totally change the outcome of your day because life happens,
Yeah. And by the way, I really appreciate you being vulnerable because I know it's like there's a lot to talk about and we're being very honest with you guys. So I really appreciate you like opening up and just talking about like how you overcome these things. You know what I mean? Because it's not easy. Like we all have our moments, our ups and downs. And honestly, that part of like just telling yourself I'm worthy, that is so beautiful because it is true. You're worthy, I'm worthy. We're all worthy of, love, of kindness, of whatever you desire in your life as long as it's good. And I just wanted to say that. I love your honesty about this part.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're absolutely the same way, which is why I feel like we touch on so many
Thanks.
amazing topics. And,
Yeah. We
just
really go
to,
deep. Like
yeah, and to
we don't like to
go,
stay in the LA surface. Like that's just not
absolutely
it.
not. And yeah, to even go deeper. I mean, there was a period of time in my career that I was becoming a little bit frustrated
Mm-hmm.
with, these are some things that I wanted to accomplish. I haven't accomplished them
Yeah.
yet. Or,
And then
you
you have a
know,
timeline and then
yeah.
yeah.
And like there was a dry spell and like especially, COVID, a little after COVID,
Mm-hmm.
just the changes in the industry were really tough and
Yeah.
I was hard on myself and I realized that I was paying attention to the wrong things.
Mm.
I was thinking about things outside of myself and opportunities outside of myself
Yeah.
when really it was something that was within me
Yeah.
that was a voice saying, are you good enough? Do you believe in
Wow.
yourself? Do you really, truly believe in yourself?
Yeah.
And, are you able to accept the good things that are coming from you and the
Yeah.
success that is ready for you? And so
Wow.
it was actually an internal debate that I needed to focus on. And once I really focused on my self love and my belief that I am
Yeah.
worthy and I am valuable and I have something to bring to the table,
Yeah.
that was when things started to change for me.
Wow.
As soon as I started to accept, no, I am good at what I do. I do
Yeah.
have value. I do good things.
Yes.
And once I really believed in that, that's when I started to put that energy out into the
Wow.
universe or whatever you want to
Mhm.
believe, right? And that's when I felt that things started to come back to me. So
Wow.
so that's where I think just touching on the work-life balance, it's not necessarily, oh, I'm working all these hours and all of these
Yeah.
things. I think kind of like hitting the priorities of like, okay, what are the things I really value? What are the things I really love? What do I really want to accomplish?
Yeah.
And do I believe in myself
Yeah.
enough to say I can accomplish those things and I
Yes.
will accomplish those things?
I love
And then
that.
everything you do after that is so intentional.
Yes. That's what matters the most, intention, right? And I also see it is very like I love how you said I know now I'm worthy. I know all the things because I tell that to myself and I don't listen to that voice, right? To me, it's like I look at it as in a relationship, right? In a relationship, you have two people. Neither of them are perfect, right? But it's a matter of like you still love them that way. You still try to help them
Yeah.
fix those imperfections the same way they're supposed to help you fix your own. They're not meant to fix you. They're meant to be there to help you, right? But the same way we look at relationships, you love that person the way they are. Why can't we have that relationship with ourselves? We need to
Absolutely.
love ourselves and be like, okay, I might not be perfect in this way or that way, but I'm working I'm working on myself to be able to get there. I'm working on myself to love myself better, to love myself more than I do today. Because at the end of the day, it's like we have to value our like just the fact that we're even breathing today is such a blessing, and sometimes we take it for granted, and waking up and just be like, I am worthy of love, and whatever I put my mind on, and I'm gonna accomplish because I'm working hard for it, because I deserve it, because this is what I'm meant to be doing. Because you know it in your heart, in your spirit, when you're meant to be doing something. Like, there is a reason why you're here now, accomplishing all the things that you're doing now. Because it's like, I believe in God, so God knew your heart and your desires. And, when He sees that you put all that effort into the things that you've been doing and your heart is in the right place, then that's when He grants you whatever you desire in that moment. So it's beautiful just thinking about like self-love. At the end of the day, when we have that self-love, nothing can tear you down, because at the end of the day, it's like whatever people say out there, you know yourself, you love yourself enough to be like, I'm worthy. Why would I listen to you if that's a lie? I know myself better than you know me, you know? But it's also good to have people around, like we usually say, having people around that will support you and also be able to be honest with you and tell you when
Yes.
things might be going wrong or when you might be doing something that is not okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's so important to, again, love yourself and be confident enough, but also be able to take um advice, in the right way
Yeah.
from the right people. Of course, you don't want
Yeah.
to listen to everybody or social media comments or some random person in the street or some person that barely knows you. You want to listen to the people that are close to you, because at the end of the day, your circle matters so much and they can build you or destroy you.
That's so true. And like, thank you for just the beautiful words. And you're absolutely right. And this is something that I know, like, you're exactly the same way. Like, your heart is in everything, it's in
Yeah.
everything that you do. And when your heart is in the right place and you're passionate, you do find that alignment and you
Yes.
feel that alignment. You feel it in
Yeah.
your heart and your gut
Yeah.
when you're on the right path for yourself.
Yes.
And, you know, self love isn't self centered.
Mm.
Self love is beautiful. And, you know, just to kind of like wrap this all up, and to all
Mm-hmm.
of you watching, you are worthy, you are enough, what
Yes.
you bring to the table is enough, you have something to give, and nobody
Can
is
take that away
you.
from you.
Nobody can take that away
Yeah.
from you, and nobody will ever be you.
Yes.
You know, there's something that you can offer that nobody else can, and that matters, and that's important.
Yeah. That is so true. I love this. I love this episode. This whole topic has been, yeah, self love. That's where it's at.
Absolutely. And
Um,
that doesn't have to be tied to how many hours you put in the day
no,
working.
no. So be kind with yourself. Love yourself enough to know when it's enough.
Yes.
And yeah, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. We did, and we're still doing it, and here we are. You know what I mean? So, we would love to hear from you guys in the comments if you want to hear any new topics or if you have any questions for us. We are here for you. We want to create this safe community for
And
everyone.
let us know what you guys do to, find the work life balance as
Yes.
well. Like, talk about it in the comments. Let's help each other because,
Yes.
we obviously have our own experiences, but we all like find our own ways
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
like deal with it.
Yeah.
So, really excited to hear your thoughts. Please comment, subscribe,
Yes. Like,
share,
comment, and subscribe.
all the things. Just my name is Katie Tucker.
ARIA, and thank you so much, guys, for your support. We see each and all of you. Please follow our social media to keep up with the new episodes and everything. We'll put it in the link. We'll put it in the description. We'll put it on the description right below. And we love you guys. Have a beautiful day, night, and peace out.
Peace out.